Hey everybody, this is Jeff. Starting a little late this year. I normally plant my garlic in the fall, actually, like October or November, so it'll be ready by the end of the summer, because that's when the birds real hot out. It ain't great for it. So typically, it takes 9 months for this stuff to grow. Before we develop a bulb of garlic. So what I do is got one little container, a little bit of container here. So I did 50% peat moss, and the other 50% is potting soil. We can put these garlic cloves in here. We can watch them grow, and this stuff's already got some stuff in it, you know, as far as nutrients and stuff. That's plenty of water there. So what I got here is I'll be right with you. Just walking over here for a second. I got 3 cloves, Jesus, of garlic here. So you gotta peel these back a little bit. And I've had pretty damn doggone good success. Oh my, speaking over the last quite a few years since I've grown garlic. Not for everything, so see how it goes this year. Every year tries to change everything. So what you gotta do is, like, there's a clove that's already loose right there. So what you do is you just take doing garlic, planting garlic, having any part of garlic. The biggest problem is not growing it. It does it all itself really, but getting all the paper off and setting it the way you want it to and all that good stuff is just a pain in the neck. So that's the first one. But you see how it's got rounded here, and then it's got a slippery rounded here and a pointed thing there. The pointed part you always want to go up, right? So you want to keep them like 4 inches apart so you can grow a decent spoon. They're just going to go in there barely on the grain. You got to go crazy with them. And I'm breaking apart this clove here, right? Got the paper off that one. This one's going pretty good, right? Pointy end up, about 4 inches off of that one, center to center. Push it right in with a pointed end up, right? Got another one here. This is paper off there. And if I can, let's see. That's all you can do is try sometimes. Garlic is great tasting. Pointed end up, right? Paper's off. And so I'm going 3 in a row right here. So when these grow decently, these garlics, I don't know, the green part of the garlic gets up like that high, gets up like a foot or 2 when you're growing it, and they start out slow, then they grow and they look almost like onions or potatoes. They just grow outrageously, and like I said, they sit in the ground and everywhere they got to be for 9 months. So let's see, now is the beginning of March, April, May, June, July. They won't be done till the end of November, but I might have to pull them in September because I started late this year and put another batch in for next winter so they overwinter, because if it gets too hot, these things will just mold up and die. Pointed end up, right? Gonna put another one right in here. Right, we're still not done here. We still got to finish up with fertilizing and stuff. So I'm getting more out of these cloves than I thought I was going to get. And they're a little bit dry, so maybe that's why the paper's coming off these a little bit better this time. And I think I told you earlier, this is coming from a guy that's getting older. Yeah, we got it off that one. Alright. Pop another one right in there. And I got them 4x4, center side, center top and bottom. So we'll push that one right in there like that. Just below the ground. That was no good. There's some green on it. Dried out too much. Let's see, another couple in this one. Still got the whole 2 inches. And what I've done before when I've grown this was this garlic depends on the season when you're growing. There's times I've done it in winter and growed it and left it in 3 or 4 big containers and just got tons of garlic. And we cook a lot of garlic when we do cook. We grow a lot of garlic, and especially if, like tomato sauce or peas, green beans are cooking up in something, there's just nothing better than cooking up garlic, as you know. That was dry. That was not good. So I'm glad I got this extra. You'll see them, they're like light or a dark tan, and they're soft. And they'll get like a green circle on them or green moldy stuff, and that just means it took too long to plant some of them, or they came to you already that way, right? Pointed end up. I'm gonna push this one in. So we're gonna see what we got here. And these two, we got enough 2 more rows. Oh, there goes a piece way over there. Oh yeah, man. Things gonna come apart and it's shooting over the ground. So I think I told you earlier, just make sure I remember how to get over. I'm talking to myself a thing more than the camera. Just remember, got it there, nice and green, right? Gonna push it back in, right down there, right? Just put the whole, not wedge, oh my gosh, you talk about losing your mind. The whole clove you want underneath the ground. And you want just that edge where I told you, that pointy edge, just about level with the ground, just so when you cover it with a little more soil, it gives it a bed to grow in down there and start doing what it needs to do to get bigger, so you have bigger garlic. And these all end up, when you're growing garlic like I do, it's weird. It varies year for year. Sometimes you'll plant, it depends on the size of the cloves a lot too, but there's been years I haven't really paid much attention and really pushed anything real hard on the, as far as keeping them. They get watered like everything else every once in a while. You know, these get watered less than most stuff. They're like potatoes. You don't have to water them all the time, maybe once a week. And I'll water them down and hardly take care of them, it seems like. And I'll get a nice whole garlic cluster of all together, and sometimes they'll be like this big, sometimes they'll be like that big. Just depends. Like these ones here are smaller, so typically when you're using ones that are a little, yeah, that was no good. Typically when they're a little bit smaller like this, the garlic cloves, that means you're not going to get as big of a piece of whole piece of garlic, like the whole ball of garlic out of it. But like anybody knows, it's been involved with gardening for years. There's times you put stuff in, you're like, well, I got these old seed potatoes, and I'm just going to pop them in and see what happens. Don't expect much out of them. You take them out of the ground 4 months later, and they're better than brand new seed potatoes you got. So don't go by that. I mean, Mother Nature controls all that. Pointed end up, right? And sometimes you just, like I said, you just don't know what you're going to get out of everything as far as these cloves go, and or anything you grow. So you just got to kind of keep trying it and putting in different ways, and just about the time you think you got it figured out, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, when you garden as long as I have, or not as long as I have, I'm not trying to sound like a professional or something, just you've done it as long as I have, there's real value to be from doing it for a long time, because you do know what you have to do to be successful with 90 to 95% of what you're growing. I have huge crops. Even when it's been over-rained or under-rained, I complain sometimes on my videos about it. But even when it's over-rained and under-rained, I can't say that I've ever had a whole garden go to waste or lost everything, or said this, you know, it's just when you, it's weird sometimes. Let's just say you're growing patty pan squashes. Love to grow them just because they're weird looking, and they like to eat them, so I grow them. Not that I'll eat it. And you grow that stuff, and sometimes you grow it, and it's long. You're busy at work, you're busy with the family, everything. You got the automatic watering, you're doing everything. Sometimes you go out there and you're just amazed at, what you doing, buddy? See something? What do you say? Of course. Sometimes you'll see the, won't even have time to really care for certain things as much, and like the patty pan squash, and you'll be like, son of a God, it's not going to be good this year, and say eggplant too, and sometimes you go out there and you're like, better off not paying attention to it. the stuff just grows like crazy. You can't keep up with it, and grows like crazy. I got one over here, guys. Be right there. One of them kind of went out of my hand. And you're just kind of goes against all theory of what you know and what you've been taught or what you've learned and studied for growing everything. And, it's like I said. When I started gardening, it was just a woman saying, you know, how much could it be until you got to mix 40, 50 bags of dirt with the soils and the fertilizers, and you're out here roughly for a month straight trying to get everything ready to go. And then throughout the summer, spring and early summer, you're planting more and more, and you're trying to keep up with water, then you're weeding it, and you're having to move things around, and it's just continual. Remember, pointed end up, right? So it's just a tremendous amount of really a lot of work to get done, to keep up with, to do it right. But I didn't believe it, so just take it from me. If you're not believing anybody else, it is true. So now we got those in the ground, this pointy end sticking up right level with the edge of the dirt we have in here right now. We're going to take our bone meal, sprinkle some bone meal on every one of these puppies here. Every one of these, a little bit in the hole and all around. We're going to water this one more time, right? So we're just a little bit of bone meal on every top. Everybody says a lot of bone meal, but it really isn't. And then bone meal gives tons of potassium. Potassium is just what makes so many vegetables do so well. And then the blood meal, this is right here, the brown blood meal. This gives it the nitrogen that gets it leafy and green and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have both in the whole thing. And depending on what happens, as long as you're keeping up with the watering, you're not over-watering, or you're not taking care of something. You know, I'm thinking maybe, I forget how often I do it. In the summer, not often. You can't do it much. Maybe I might sprinkle fertilizer on every pot there is in there, but it's not this type. It's the green bottle I was showing you earlier, but it's a long-term fertilizer, so it's like they call it like 30 to 90 day fertilizer. I think it's 90, but probably once a month I go out there and just spray a little bit around the top and then the straw or whatever's laying there. And I just keep the vitamins in there because when you've got a soaker system like I do, some of them spray just lightly and some of them just drip in depending on what I'm growing. It's great, but you know, when you're out with hose doing it once every 3 or 4 days, it's a pain in the butt because you're out there dragging hose and it's 100 degrees out trying to keep up with everything. So that's how I went to the soaker system. But the soaker system is a direct soak, which is great for the plants, but as I told you before, no vegetables or plants can stand being in water. That's why there's holes drilled through everything, through the bottom of this and all over. So you put it in and it gets rid of it. As you're watering that stuff, just remember, as you're watering it, it loves that water, but all the vitamins and all the fertilizer, everything you're giving, even if it's long-term fertilizer, like the little stones and stuff of that, I can't know what it's called, pebbles, it lasts longer and will do better. But any type you use, when it's watering a couple, let's say twice a week, gets watered 8 times a month. Some of the fertilizer will still save it. Most of the fertilizer gets washed right out of the bucket. It's actually going down the ground. You just want to not over fertilizer, but you want to give it something all the time to make sure you're making up for all the watering you are doing, because otherwise it won't grow properly. Now it's all let me give you a picture here real quick. See if I can move this over here a little bit. You can see them. You can see in there now. It's all. See where all the holes are? 1, 2, 3, 6, 13 or 14 holes in there, and they've got the little bit of blood meal and bone meal in each one. So what we're also going to do is we have to get our potting mix. I'm not putting a huge amount in here. We've already got the whole tub full of it. The reason you use like 6 to 8 inches on the whole thing is just like when you're growing onions and they get bigger. You see all that stuff growing above the ground for onions, and and you pull it up, you see the onion, you don't realize is, you know, when you're growing bigger onions or bigger things that grow into the ground, and you know, the roots for some of them things are like that long, so they need that. Those roots going down the first thing that takes place. Just like if you're planting a tree in your house, Jesus, if you're planting a tree in your yard, people are always like, I understand, I planted it in there, it's not getting any bigger. You know, what's going on? Well, like I told you before, when you're doing that stuff, you're planting something, yes you are, but you're also, before anything grows up this way, vegetables are a little different because they're quicker growing, but anything you grow, trees, in my yard, like I told you, I've done like 100 trees and bushes. Added just little seedlings I found along the side of the road, a couple of specialty ones I bought. So we want to just get a nice soaking on here. Nice soak pan right on top of that fertilizer. Now, just put nothing, didn't do anything, just spread a little more hot soil right on top of everything. It's already been soaked by me. We're good. That's it. Now I'm gonna take it back to the shed. All right, take it back to the greenhouse. Put it in the greenhouse, and then I'll just put a little light covering of my straw I cut it with. Cover it with, I'm telling you, I'm losing my mind. Cover that light lower straw, and then it'll be done. It's just growing, and every so often watering it. You know, when it gets warmer and warmer, like today it's 70, but they're saying next week highs are 30. That's called Mid-Atlantic. So once I keep watering it, it'll get watered more often as it gets warmer, and like I said, maybe once a month, fertilize it lightly. And that's it. And getting back to, if you're ever planting a tree, or you're it doesn't matter if it's a fruit tree, an oak tree, a pine tree, doesn't matter what you're doing, or a ornamental tree or bush or anything like that, you gotta, around here, it's different than maybe where you live. If you have a lot of stone and rock underneath your property, that's okay. Terrible for digging, but it's great for draining when you plant something. If you have sand, it's good. Doesn't save as many nutrition with the sand, but it's something you can grow and sit down and there's drainage. Where I live at, you say, oh man, when I get it going and fertilize, like, man, that guy's got a real nice yard, he ain't got a weed in it, it's beautiful. I gotta do a lot of fertilizing and a lot of stuff to get it to where it is, because my yard, now that it's winter time and it's still a little wet in the ground from all the rain we've had, I can dig a decent hole, but not great. Once it hits May and all the way through November, December the next year, you know, you got like this much soil in all these yards, your old farm fields. You only got like maybe 3, maybe 4 inches of soil, maybe 5 max, and everything else is clay. So when you try to dig down and bury something, you might get a hole down there, and you might use a post hole digger, like my fence when I put it in. Like, you can pull the fence post out after it rots after 20 years, and you look 6 foot down the ground. The water's never left. It's just sitting in. It's still sitting in the clay. It just sits there. So clay does not drain anyway. So, as I've told you before, that's why I don't use. I've always used above ground gardening because of the clay, and it won't allow things to do so. It's been easier for me to just go out and till and throw some seeds, or till and go out and throw my plants in and be done with it. But I tried that the first couple of years, and I've seen a couple of my neighbors in the area do it, and it's just it's terrible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But overall, it don't work because of clay. And the same as trees. I got orange tree, lemon tree, peach tree. 2 types of lemon tree. Sorry, orange tree, peach tree. Got blueberry bushes on it. A lot, they're on the ground now, and I did a lot of it, but when I put those in, they learned to have to dig a big hole. But once I got the hole dug down, I threw a lot of the original dirt back in there, and where you would normally sit the ball level with the, like if you dug a 12-inch deep hole, 2 inches round, they tell you get that root ball maybe half-inch above or right level with the ground, and that's it, and just put it in there, and it's good, and it'll drain. Well, all it did was those balls, when I grow certain types of trees, we put that ball and put it all in there, they look good for about a month or so. All of a sudden, it'd be in the middle of summer, when it's supposed to be growing, everything's dying, and you pull the tree out later at the end of the summer, and there's still water in that freaking hole, and it would just kill the trees. It would just kill anything you were growing. So, back by the stream we got out back, or back where I do more gardening, where there's more water around it, you can get away with a little bit more. But so what you end up having to do is you have to end up planting it instead of putting it 12 inches deep. You end up putting it like 6 inches deep. Get some of it under the ground, leave like 6 inches above, cone it. Maybe put some blocks around it, or build some dirt around it, and then put some good potting soil and some mulch on top of it. Because if not, it can't drink all that water, it can't absorb all that water, it can't do what it needs to do. And like I told you, moisture is the worst. And all the years of doing it, it's the worst thing in the world for growing. Over-watering or water standing on pots and plants, plants inside, outside, doesn't matter. Kill your stuff. So anybody says, oh, I water my plants every day. They might be getting lucky. Maybe they're sitting in the sun, or maybe they got air going through there enough to dry it. But in 99% of the time, people go, I can't understand, the thing grew great, now it's all dead and won't come back. And it looked good, I was growing this, now I can't grow any fruits off my vegetables, or they're all green. Well, you got a lot of nitrogen in there, and a lot of water is growing leaves, but ain't gonna grow nothing because underneath it's dying. There's nothing else happening because everything's too wet. So just remember that. Whatever you're putting in the ground in this area in the Mid-Atlantic, unless you got a good foot of soil, I mean a real good foot of soil, and it drains, and it's not clay. If it's not clay and you can do it, it'll be fine. But if it's clay, you're never gonna get rid of that well. I think I've put, when I first started doing, probably 4 or 5 plum trees and a couple trees in here, and every frickin' one of them things died. Every one, after all the money and the time. I kept thinking, boy, you are such a dope, why can't you get this? And you figure it out after a while, and once you start pulling things out of the ground, in the middle of summer, it's 95 degrees, and rain for a month and a half, and you dig it up in all years, you dig it up, and the hole is 12 inches deep, it's full of water, so the whole thing. It don't look, everything else is dry, there's no grass growing, but underneath that ground, it don't go nowhere because of the clay. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. I gotta get these into the greenhouse and get some straw, and I appreciate it, but that's the garlic for right now. And like I said, I sent you a video a couple days ago. I got a bunch of stuff planted in my seedling pots, and they'll take a couple weeks to do, and then we'll come back and put them up in sizes before we pot them, like in a little bigger containers, and then we'll put them in the bigger pots and get them ready for the garden. And I got a ton of potatoes, but I got things to do this weekend, but I will be back. And next weekend I got a tournament for my grandson. So I would say maybe 2-3 weekends from now I'll be out and I got 6 bags of real seed potatoes, not leftover, real seed potatoes to do. And we'll be planting all of them, and I got 6 different types this year. So I'm gonna try long-term ones and short-term ones, but they're all still, the only one I think that is indeterminate, normally called indeterminate, is a russet potato. And they're saying the russet potatoes will grow throughout all your dirt. As we talked the other day, through the whole stem and all around. But if it's indeterminate, it'll grow. Or if it's determinate, which are, like I said, 99.9% of potatoes you can buy, they all grow on one level. So that's why when you got all that dirt, and you might get a ton of potatoes in one area, but nothing everywhere else. You're like, oh, this sucks. It's got to plant little potatoes a little higher. If you plant them higher, you got to plant them a little lower. Like have 2 levels, because they grow out side to side. They do not grow up and down. That's determinates. Side to side, and determines up and down. All right, guys, have a great day. Don't forget to to the sites everywhere, and like and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff. And I'm gonna let you go. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you in a little while. All right, guys, see you.